What's the first thing you think of when you hear the phrase sleeping giant? Now, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is automatically the idea that you haven't seen such a fearsome force in a long time. But at that point, you've lowered your guard. And sooner or later, they're going to come back and you're going to be unprepared. This is exactly what happened to the New England Patriots in 2019. It was actually near the end of the regular season. I actually believe it was the last game of the regular season. The Dolphins actually came in to Gillette Stadium to play the New England Patriots. The Patriots weren't even thinking about the Dolphins. They were thinking, should be an easy walkover, easy win. We're 12-3. Should be easy, right? It didn't go that way. Dolphins actually ended up beating them, and it was just shocking, honestly. Ryan Fitzpatrick made it happen, and I didn't think I'd ever look up and see Dolphins beating the Patriots, but yes, it happened. And honestly, I think it's just because the Patriots underestimated them. And that right there, to me, speaks volumes. Never underestimate any team, because any team can come together and get a win if they want it bad enough. Now, back in the day, the Dolphins actually worked with what they call the no-name defense. And what that pretty much stands for is they didn't really have this big playmaker that was just out there making all the plays. Their whole team emphasized each player going out there and doing their job. So the important thing that comes from that is, hey, I'm emphasizing that everybody give their max effort, play their hardest, and that's the bottom line. Well, today's NFL is a little bit different. Most teams have those big players that make all their big plays. So with the Falcons, you got Julio and Matt Ryan. You're not really it's not the whole team that's just perfectly meshed together and making an effort as a whole. It's typically one player that the team rallies behind. That's not what the Dolphins thrived off of back in 1972 when they actually went undefeated and won the Super Bowl, the only team to actually ever do so. They're such a storied franchise with such an amazing accomplishment behind them. And so the only thing I can think of is, when are they going to be relevant again? When is this historically rich team going to make history again? Are they going to do it with an undefeated season? Now, I will say they did make some Super Bowls after that, but they just haven't won. And the playoffs, they've been perennial playoff contenders, but it's pretty much a one-on year, one-off. And the last time Miami was in the playoffs, that was actually in 2016, and I believe it ended in the first round. However, if this team is actually built correctly and actually goes back to its roots and uses that no-name philosophy and just truly emphasizes a total team effort, I feel like the management of the Dolphins is well enough to actually make that work. I believe they can get by without having 2, 3, 4, 5 of the best players in the league on their team. I believe they can make what they have work. But honestly, we'll never know if we don't give it a deep dive. And that's what I'm here for. This is Up Next. You know what time it is, so roll it. Episode 3, the Miami Dolphins. Alright everybody, it's about time for that question. What are the Dolphins actually about to do? Well, I think I'm going to help answer that. I got 3 different predictions. And the reason I only have 3, it's because I really just don't see too much happening for this franchise right now. It's more of a long-term story. So hopefully everything is the same. The camera just died, but I'm gonna go ahead and start with my predictions. Okay. Number 1. I believe that the Dolphins will actually go ahead and bench Tua for this season and they're gonna play with Fitzpatrick. Now, I do believe that Fitzpatrick is not one of the best quarterbacks in the league by any means. However, he possesses something that is pretty much priceless. It's invaluable. It's something that pretty much any young player coming up could really use, and that's veteran knowledge. Fitzpatrick has not had the top career that Tom Brady or whoever else, Cam Newton even at one point. He has not had any of that crazy high success. But what he has had is a lot of games, a lot of years, a lot of mistakes. And those are some things he can help key out for Tua. Now, most teams actually don't do this these days. They usually don't just string along players. They pretty much just pop them right onto the field and tell them to get going. And that's kind of what the Bengals are doing with Joe Burrow. But there's a reason why the Dolphins shouldn't do it with Tua. There's a reason why the Bengals it's actually not a bad move for them to do that with Burrow. And if you're wondering what that reason is, a little bit of side note information, Burrow actually comes from a pro-style offense. If you want more information on that, comment down below on if you want me to do the Bengals next. Could not, I don't know. Or whatever team you want to see. Comment down below. But pretty much, Tua comes from a staple in the college football systems. Now, the thing about that is that pretty much it just doesn't work in the NFL. Actually, most teams see it as a joke. They really do it. But that's just the pro level. They see it as a joke. It won't fly. It's something that you really can't translate to a pro-star offense very well. And the last quarterback that I know that came from an air raid offense is actually going to be Patrick Mahomes. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Look what happened. Now, am I saying that Tua sitting behind Fitzpatrick is going to do that? No. What I am saying is it's going to give him a higher chance of success. And it takes his window of success from here, along, we include his durability, which is a big concern. It takes his window of success from here to about here, just by having those keys given to him by a veteran, as well as the fact that he's going to get a little bit more time to learn the playbook and get used to a pro-style offense. And pretty much, I think that's going to be a major key in getting the most out of him while actually pretty much developing him at the pace that they're looking for. Now, I'll get to the idea about pace a little bit later, but the one thing I really want to get to right now is that I did mention air raid offenses, and all I'm going to say is that if you really want to know more about them, just search it up on Google and you'll see it just like that, what an air raid offense really is. And I'm going to tell you right now, something like that in the NFL with the masterminds that we have at defensive coordinator and the crazy coaching carousels that exist, there is no way, and I do mean no way, that's going to fly against a defense like the Saints. That's just not going to happen. Pretty much, NFL defenses are going to destroy an air raid system, which is why you don't want to take an air raid system quarterback and just try to plop him in and not give him some kind of modifier in front of him to kind of work with him. And speaking of just NFL defenses destroying things, let's talk about the Dolphins' running game. Last year, the Dolphins' leading rusher was Ryan Fitzpatrick. That, honestly, that's pretty sad. Fitzpatrick is actually not even a mobile quarterback. He's more of a pocket passer. He sits there, makes his reads from the pocket, uses pocket awareness, and that's how he gets his plays. Well, in 2019, he somehow stepped up to the plate, did the extra steps, and literally extended plays. Sometimes he completely took off and ran for touchdowns. As a matter of fact, my favorite team is the Indianapolis Colts. They went against the Colts. Fitzpatrick took off out of the pocket, ran in for a touchdown. When I saw that, my jaw dropped. I never thought I'd see someone that is typically a field general that just sits in the pocket and works with it actually just pick up and make that kind of extra effort. And to give you a comparison of a typical pocket passer, that was 243 yards for Ryan Fitzpatrick last season. Now, Tom Brady has just over 1,000 yards in his entire NFL career. To put that in perspective, Brady has played 19 seasons in the league. And Fitzpatrick had those, again, 243 yards. If you divide up Brady's stats in the running game, like him running, he only did around 67 yards per season. I believe that's the figure that I got. He only got about 67 yards per season. If you can't actually stand on your own 2 feet and tell me that two players of the same style, one actually stepped up and made the extra step, if you can't actually agree that Fitzpatrick isn't a game manager plus, you can leave. I'm serious, like you can leave this video right now. I'm gonna go ahead and give him the title of a game manager plus, because not only did he make the extra step, he completely got out of his comfort zone. That is huge. Like, respect earned. Two quarterbacks of the same style, and this man has literally 4 times the amount of yardage that Brady had in one season. Took Brady 4 years to get that many yards. Fitzpatrick did it in 1. And that's not a GOAT comparison or greatness comparison. That's just an example of what I'm talking about. So with Fitzpatrick being mainly the only runner on the team because the running backs weren't making that big of an impact, defenses just had to easy game plan. If they run the ball, we're going to get them easily. Their running backs aren't going to do much. They're not going to break any tackles. We're just going to take them down easily. So they could either blitz and just play zone with one linebacker, right? So they'll sit there. They can run a blitz where they'll bring the outside linebacker down. They can bring both of them down, as a matter of fact, and the middle linebacker in the field. Or they can just sit there and commit to a pass play because they had nothing to worry about in the running game. That is so easy to shut down. I'm talking about if the team isn't even that good at running, imagine what closes off. Play action, dead. They actually run the ball, oh, you're going to be stopped for about 1-2 yards. Maybe we might even stuff you in the backfield. And so let's put that into another perspective. Imagine a team that depends on different concepts, but they can't use any of those if, hey, we're just going to go play zone. We're not even going to worry about you. No threat. Fitzpatrick stepped up and became that threat much as he could. And he punished a few defenses for it. Now, one thing I do want to say is that I do commend the management of the Dolphins franchise as a whole because they addressed their need. This offseason, they actually picked up a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher for the Chicago Bears. They picked him up in free agency from the Eagles. They picked him up, and that is going to be Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard is typically a contact running back, your typical power back. He's going to run through contact, maybe even initiate it, and just kind of be the physical type. They also made a trade with the San Francisco 49ers and got their hands on Matt Breida, who's typically your more elusive type of running back. He's going to fake you out, try to get around you, and he has a lot of speed. He's really fast. And that creates what they call the typical smash and dash combo, which honestly I think is a great move by Miami. And honestly, I don't know if I get both of these guys on the list for 1,000 yards or even one of them, but I think you put them together, they could at least put up 500 yards apiece, maybe 600 or 700, and I think that's a major improvement. Well, not think, I know that's a major improvement over what they had last year. And that really is honestly something that is invaluable completely. Also, if you just saw the camera shake, I just hit the desk, sorry. So the Dolphins not only addressed their weakness, but I think now with the idea of them not starting Tua, they brought some help to their running game. I think the next move for them is they're going to go ahead and tank for a lottery pick. I think if you're going to sit there and develop Tua behind Fitzpatrick, I say you tank that season while training up Tua, and then you go out in the draft next year, and I think you might want to get him another wide receiver, because his top option right now is going to be Devontae Parker. Parker has had some obvious health issues, but he's actually been that type of receiver that's going to go up over a couple of defenders, maybe one or two sometimes, and he's done this and brings down the ball. He's that big target at 6'3" that Tua can just throw the ball up to, high pointed, boom. Sometimes catch him in the corner, throw a beautiful back shoulder fade, and we have ourselves a touchdown. I really think that works. But right now, teams are going to key in on that. Devontae Parker, he is going to be locked up. Now, they do have a couple of other receivers, but in my opinion, they're not really making that big of an impact. So I see that maybe the Dolphins go into the draft, pick up a wide receiver, get some other players at other positions, and increase the depth on their team. Going with that no-name philosophy. Now, I will say this. They actually do not need a top 10 pick to do that, to get that receiver, because I don't think I really seen a lot of receivers drafted in top 10. It's really just not that common. So they can trade with another team, because it's very possible that Trevor Lawrence is going to be in this year's draft, or this upcoming draft, excuse me. And so if he's up in that draft, teams are going to probably be making their trades to try to get a pick high enough to select them first. Dolphins, if they have that high pick, you trade, you do a first round pick swap, and probably get a second round pick and a third round pick back, or even just a second round pick and a late round pick. Just getting picks in return builds depth at any position, whatever you can flip that pick to. And you never know, you might get the next greatest player, because come on, Tom Brady has been labeled the GOAT. 6 rings, winningest quarterback of all time, was selected with a 7th round pick. Think about that. Talent can come from anywhere. And I really think that's what the Dolphins can do if they play their cards right. Honestly, I've emphasized this throughout the video, and I'm just going to make this point again. The Dolphins aren't as poorly managed as some other teams. Washington. So yeah, that's kind of where I get the next thing is the management might be a huge key to helping them win. And I think the one question that's left to be answered is Super Bowl, right? What are the Super Bowl hopes? What are the postseason hopes for the Dolphins? I honestly believe that by 2028, their depth at each position will be pretty good. I think they would have a couple of nice players to work with. And I think Tua, hopefully, if he doesn't turn out to be a bust or injuries get the best of him, I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm just saying any player can become one. Hopefully he's not. And if he doesn't turn out to be one, I think the Dolphins have a legitimate chance of becoming postseason contenders by 2028. And if the AFC itself is soft enough, the biggest threat is going to be Mahomes and the Chiefs, because Mahomes is going to Chief for the rest of his career pretty much. But I really think that, again, going back to that management and having the right players, I think they can actually just make things happen. And it could be a 2-possession game. And by that, I don't mean 2 touchdowns. I believe it'll be something like a touchdown and a field goal. I think it'll be like a 10-point game, a 2-possession game. And I feel like that team's going to be able to just manage that. To the city of Miami, welcome to your first Lombardi Trophy in what'll be nearly 60 years. Your team has earned it through patience and good management. But mostly those 2 things are never at the forefront of what led a team to a win. But you guys are unique, and you always will be, because you actually hold something that no other franchise ever held. Report on the last video, that was honestly insane. This has been Up Next, and I hope to see you all next time.